Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest Spotlight on webinar in the series from RocketRoute. We'll just give everyone about 30 seconds to come online. I can still see people joining and to adjust their audio settings, and then we'll get going. So just 30 seconds until we begin. So, ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome again. Welcome to this latest webinar on our FlightBoard product. Just before we get into the main heart of the demonstration today, just want to take you through this platform. At the moment, you are all muted, so you will only be able to hear myself and my colleague who will be presenting today. That doesn't mean to say we don't want to hear from you. If you were to look on the panel on the right-hand side, there is a question mark button. Clicking on that, you can address any questions to us. There is a team of people behind the scenes that will be able to access these questions. We will try to answer some of those questions at the end of this presentation, but if you don't get a question in the time, fear not, we will respond to you either via your account manager or from a member of our marketing team after the presentation's been completed. And we do welcome any of that feedback. There will also be a short survey at the cessation of the webinar today, and I would just ask if you could provide your feedback on that. So today's presenters are myself. I'm Steve Morgan. I'm one of the business development managers with RocketRoute. Just to give you some background into myself, I've been with RocketRoute for 6 years. Previous to that, I worked for Jefferson as an account manager in the UK office. And my background before that was working in commercial airlines for two airlines here. I'd now also like to introduce my colleague Rosti, and Rosti will give a brief introduction on him.
Yes, my name is Rostislav. I'm with RocketRoute for 4 years already. Don't have that big background in aviation, but for those four years, know about the aviation from RocketRoute. So we'll be doing the presentation today. So let's move to the agenda. So the first thing that we would like to show you, that would be adding the aircraft. Then we'll move to display options, airport view, fleet view, city pairs, broker and FBO preset up view. As well, we will talk about the integration that we have with Osprey flight solutions. We'll show you what's coming soon, and of course, we'll have a Q&A. So all our demo is live, so you will see how the system works and how it responds to each action. So starting from that, we will move to adding the aircraft. So for this, you need to click on the profile, aircraft. So first thing that you need to do is to add an aircraft. So on top, you have a plus where you can input the tail number of the aircraft that you'll be using. So by doing that, you're clicking on enter and the aircraft appears here. So from this view, you're able to see the less known position and the individual one for each aircraft. As we can see, the blue aircraft here was flying, and this one that we're showing right now, that's a landed aircraft at one of the airports. So as well, here we are able to see all your fleet by clicking last known position all. This will display all the aircraft, all the fleet that you have added in your account. And from here, you'll be able to see the last known position of the aircraft flying. So by clicking on each or on individual aircraft, you will see if it's blue, you will see the flown route, and it means that it's flying. But if it's gray, you'll see the last known position. And from here, we can see that this aircraft was flying on 6th of April. So we keep the history and all the information about the aircraft, about your fleet here. So let's move back. So by moving back here, you're able to enable the information about the aircraft, the notifications of the aircraft. So the aircraft information can be pre-set up for each individual aircraft. For this, you're clicking on the pen icon, and yes, then go into notifications. So the notifications can be sent via SMS or email. You can receive the notifications about the filed, airborne, landed, delayed, cancelled, or track flights. So to do that, you're preset up in the phone number or the email address by clicking on Add here. As simple as that. And all the information will be keeping you updated on your fleet, and you'll be able to track everything in a very fast and seamless way. So let's move to Stephen.
So I'm going to initially show you some of the options that we have within the FlightBoard for your tracking. For the setup, you can see here that those aircraft in the fleet view are all loaded. We also then can go down, we can set up a screen for either arrival, departure, or for both. You can also search for your time available. So if I wanted to set this up for today, for example, I just want to see today's flights. You can also set your time zone. So if you want this set in local time, which you may want if you're an FBO or a handler, if you're happy just to have this in UTC, you can also have that set as required. You can set up the screen here. You can set up the screen with a number of different columns. So you can filter this to show what relevant information is available to you. So for example, we have some customers using this at airport locations where they filter out some of this information because they don't want that to be available, but they do want to be able to see some of this other information that their customers will want to be able to see. Likewise, we also have the airport list, so you may well have a set list of airports you want to have set up on the account. You can very quickly set these up as required. For today's demonstration, we're going to go firstly through an airport list. So I'm going to set this up for Luton Airport in the UK, and I'll apply that. You can see here that the background color is in a white color. We also have the option to switch to a black motif. So we can click here and it will switch to a black color. So again, for those people working night shifts, again, that could be very useful set up for you. You can also adjust the number of flights that are being shown per page. And again, you can have up to 100 per page as required. I'm just going to reset this back into today's flights. We also have the ability here to filter by the current flight. So if I show this now, this will show you everything that has arrived into or out of Luton Airport since midnight last night. And that's just updating as you can see. Now, if you want to see this for all flights that are currently flying and those that are about to depart, you can click the current flight option. And go into it that way. We also then have the ability to see each of these flights as they're flying in real time. We have this track button here, and I will go into that now and show you some of the options that are available on seeing the flight track. So you can see here we've got a black background on this routing option. You can see here the magenta line is the filed flight plan, which has been created by the operator, and then the blue line here is showing that the aircraft's actual position and last waypoint that it's flown. We also have some further information by clicking here and seeing some flight information. So how long it's been flying, current speed, current altitude, distance flown, takeoff time and landing time, and we also show the route information as well. If I hide that away, I can click on this little icon here, and we can change the map settings. So if you don't like the dark settings, you can switch it to a light setting. We also have a satellite view as well, plus then a roadmap and also a terrain. You'll also notice we have two other options here. So we have a live weather. As you can see here, we show significant cells and also lightning. So you can see here across Europe at the moment, there is some lightning happening. There's also some significant cells that are also occurring. And you can see where this aircraft today is also going to be passing through some of that area later on. We also uniquely have the Eurocontrol Situation map. So I can zoom out here. As you can see, it's zoomed in on one of those areas. And you can see here that there's this piece of airspace here, which is in effect from the ground level to flight level 245. By clicking on it, I can get some more information. I can get the piece of airspace that's concerned. I can see what's causing that and the regulation name. I can see that this currently is applied, and the reason is airspace management. And you can see the time that this is in effect from. So this has been in effect from 0600 this morning to 2200 this evening. And it's from flight level 0 to 245. As we saw earlier, this aircraft was up at flight level 380, therefore was not affected. But again, had this aircraft been flying at it may well have been affected by this regulation. This then allows the operator to be able to route around the situation if applicable, or in the case of other issues such as this one here at Pontoise, you can see here that there's a arrival and departure regulation in place. And again, that may be something that as an operator you can't avoid. So we do try to give you as much relevant information to you as an operator what's going on with the current situation across Europe. Obviously, with the current situation, there is a limited number of scenarios, but you can imagine in the event of a ATC strike, which is very common, large sections of this map will be covered with regulations. So it is a very useful tool with understanding what's going on outside of your own operation. So at this point, I'll hand back to Rosti, who will do the demonstration of the airport view as if and run through that.
Yes,
Rosti.
Thank you, Stephen. So as we currently we have Luton opened here. So the current flights only is switched on for the view itself. So that means that all the airborne flights are displayed, and the flights that are filed are displayed here as well. Once the flight is landed, it disappears from the list, so you'll have the list always updated, and you don't need any manual actions. So that can be used in the airport as a screen itself to inform customers. So let's move to the filter. So from filtering itself, we have as well an ability of historical filtering. So if we switch off the current flights, we are able to filter 10 days in the past and 4 days in future. So from the filtering possibilities, you have the ability to filter arrival, departure flights, as well both flights. So this information is displayed right above the timetables. So going a bit down, we can check the operators. So that can be filtered by operator ID. So the first 3 letters or number in the ID can be pre-filtered here. So by applying the filter, here we'll see all the Wizz Air flights. So the next filtering option would be the flight types that we have. So yes, let's go back to the filter. So flight types. The flight types can be scheduled, non-scheduled, general, other, and military. Of course, military ones are blocked for general view. And for example, if you're an FBO working and you want to see all the general and non-scheduled flights, you can pre-filter those. For example, for today's date, and you'll be able to see all of those. currently we have in the filter the Luton Airport. So it is preloading right now. Yes, so right now we can see all the flights going from general to non-schedule. So those are basically the main examples of the usage of FlightBoard. So as well, we have other filtering options which we can go through. So you can as well filter by status. So if you're interested only in those flights that are currently flying or are filed right now, becoming to the active status, you can filter by those as well. So it's very easy to use, simultaneous. It's very fast, and yeah, you'll be able to do the pre-setup for your business on your own. So those are the functions of the filter. As well, in the filter, we can pre-filter our fleet. So if we'll go to the filter one more time and go down here, if you have your aircraft pre-set up, you can add all aircraft, and that will be working here as well. So from the map, we can view all the aircraft, and as well we can view the airport itself. So going back to the all fleet view. Yes, so as shown on previous demo on the aircraft page, here you can pre-filter all your fleet view. Here you see the airborne flight. So the blue line is the actual flown route. The pink one would be the filed route here. So all the information is being updated in the automatic mode.
So as well as FlightBoard being used as a tool for airports, some of our operators are also using this as well. We have a large number of operators using this system from some of the largest and most high-profile airlines in Europe, USA, and the Middle East. So what I'm going to show you now is how many of our operators will be setting this up. They would have that set up as a list of aircraft as their fleet, but they can also put in here their operator ID and see their fleet that way. So with currently UPS obviously being very busy, we're going to be using them today as an example. We will load today's flights from UPS and we'll be able to see those. And you can see here we have all of the flights that are in operation, and obviously a lot of these are flown overnight. Now if we wanted to again start applying filters, we could say, let me see all of the current flights with UPS that are currently airborne. By clicking the current flights only, we're able to go into the database and start seeing that information. Now, if I also wanted to start drilling down either by specific aircraft fleets, I could have a view of those. So for example, I've got a section here, and I can put it in here 748. So if I want to see any of the Boeing 747-800 aircraft within UPS, I can now see that as a smaller subset of their data. I can also see their routes, where they're going from. And with a couple of seconds, it will load. So we can see here we have several of their flights available. We can see where they're going from and where they're going to. And likewise, we can see a track map of all of these aircraft as they're flying, so with clicking this map. And you can see here, if I want to see some information, I can just click on the aircraft, and as like before, I see all of the flight information. I see the routing as well. I can see the route that is due to fly. Easily and simply. Now, moving on to another really good example from a fleet view is the understanding of what happens in a diversion. We also are able to show where the aircraft are diverting from and where they're diverting to. So if I just show an example from yesterday, where one of the UPS aircraft was diverted, we show all the information, and also the information is shown at the top of this on this screen here in a red font, making it very clear that something's going on. If you're having a flight watch in your own operations room, that makes it a very useful tool to have that available to you. As you can see here, this aircraft was due to originally fly to Louisville from New Orleans, but it ended up diverting into Memphis. And then if we open up the flight track for this flight, you'll see exactly what happened. You'll see the original route that it was due to fly, and then you can see what was actually flown, and it's diverted then into Memphis. You'll also be able to see all of the information. So again, what time it took off, what time it landed, and all of that is also stored here as well. We did mention earlier that we have an integration with a company called Osprey Flight Solutions. We have a column here showing that information just here, and enabling that will show that on the board. We are then able to do some demonstrations of our integration with them by choosing a flight and showing how that works with our service. Osprey Flight Solutions provides a risk analysis for operators so that they can make a decision about whether or not it's safe or not to make a flight based on the routings provided. Our link up with FlightBoard means that it's very clear and obvious the risk to the operations staff. We can see here a number of different colors, and obviously the color represents the risk to that flight. If I choose one of these flights that's currently filed, I will be able to then show you how that looks here just by simply clicking on the map. It opens a pane, and inside that you'll get an overview of the flight that's being calculated. So you can see all the risk areas. We're pulling the data and the route of flight from our system. Osprey are then doing the analysis from their side. So you can see that clearly on a map. We then have the details of all of this all throughout here in a written report. And each of that is broken down into different flight levels so that you and your security teams can accurately risk assess every flight that you'll do. And there's also a cross section as well based on those different flight levels. But there's also the option to then export this as a report. Then that can be either passed to the crew or any relevant internal team inside your operation. A separate subscription for Osprey Flight Solutions is required, and if you want any further information on this, you can contact us and we'll put you in contact with the Osprey Flight Solutions team. At this point, we're going to return back to our demonstration, and we're going to go and give you an example of some of the new functions that are coming up in FlightBoard. And this is going to be our route improvement tool. This works as a standalone solution that can support your current flight planning system. So you don't need to be a RocketRoute user for this. This will work with your current flight planning system. The great benefit here is you can define your criteria, and RocketRoute will be automatically looking and reviewing your flights. And once there's a better option for you, we'll provide that. You then can make a decision on whether or not you want to go ahead with the change or continue on without. There are a number of different user scenarios, and I'm just going to take you through those right now. The first case is if you wanted to save some fuel. You can see in this case there was a better routing option available. In this instance, there was a 149 kilo fuel saving, so a 4% fuel saving overall. On to the next example, if you're hit with a delay, which is obviously pretty frequent in most summers in Europe, we can review your requirements to try and keep to your on-time departure. This then reduces EU 261 claims, keeps your crew within their duty limits, and keeps your brand on track with really positive punctuality figures at the end. The example shown here, we were able to find an improved route, saving a 1 hour 26-minute slot delay. The final use case is an overall cost reduction. The primary objective here is to reduce the operational cost of doing the flights, made up of overflight costs, fuel costs, aircraft costs, and crew costs. In this example here, there was a slight increase in the delay, but the overall time in departure, but the arrival time was improved by 6 minutes. Overall, the cost versus the previously planned flight was nearly €750 for this 737-800. How it works is the system will be reviewing your flights. You get an email once your proposals match or exceed your chosen criteria, which will be assisted in your setup by your account manager. You'll then get a detailed breakdown with maps, links to confirm which situation and which routes are best for you. You can then review them. You then have the option to click in the email to update the flight plan, and change messages are automatically sent. Or you can copy this into your existing flight planning system and create the change message as required. Once the change is successful, you'll get an instant confirmation from RocketRoute via an email. You can forward that confirmation on to relevant parties in the crew. And of course, we can automate this process if you'd like it. So at this point, we're just going to go through any of the questions and answers that have come through on this call. To get started, you can sign up at, or for more information, you can go to the flightboard.rocketroute.com. You can also contact sales at rocketroute.com. And there's also information on our RocketRoute blog, which is rocketroute.com/blog. So the first question coming in. I'm a RocketRoute flight planning customer. Is there an additional subscription?
Yes, there is an additional subscription, so you just need to contact your regional manager and discuss it.
Okay, thanks, Rusty. Question 2. I don't use RocketRoute for a flight plan filing, but can I still use this service?
Yes, the service is separate, so it can be used.
Okay, question 3. I'm not based in Europe or the USA. Can I still use the service?
Yes, of course, the access is complete everywhere. So we can use the third-party service providers for tracking and do the integration part. And you'll be able to do the tracking and use the service.
Okay. I would like a trial. How can this be arranged?
Very simple. Contacting sales at RocketRoute.com. And you'll be able to arrange the trial. So for further demonstration and the pre-setup will be done for you as well.
Okay. Will a copy of the webinar be available?
Yes, the copy will be sent by email, and you'll have the link for the recording.
And I'm an aircraft enthusiast, and this seems like a great product. Well, thank you very much. Can I access the service?
Unfortunately, this is the enterprise service designed to meet the needs of the aviation service providers and the operators, so it's not accessible for aircraft enthusiasts, unfortunately.
Thank you, Rusty. So we have some upcoming webinars still planned. So next Wednesday, we have an introduction to flight planning. That'll be at 1400 UTC. And just to confirm, that's going to be on Wednesday and not Thursday like our previous webinars. And in June, we have some in-depth webinars coming up, which is going to be based around looking into individual features and some of the questions that we get frequently asked around those. So should you have any of these topics or anything you'd like us to go through, please let us know, and we'll look to include that in that series. So this concludes the webinar for today. I want to thank you again. And if you do have any questions, comments, or queries, please either send them in on the questions that I can see have come in, and I thank you for those that have come in. And if you do want to contact us at sales@rocketroute.com, that's great. I would also just like to say again, we do have a short survey at the end of this call, so if you could complete that, that would be very much appreciated. All that's left for me to say is to thank you for joining us, and I'd also like to thank you for keeping flying. For those of you who are, I know many of you are flying cargo in response to the current COVID situation, so we thank you for all you're doing, and I hope that you're able to keep safe. This ends today's webinar, and I thank you very much for your patience and your attention for today. Thank you.